Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is me, your old pal Orpheus, with another adventure as I look at the birds here on Orpheus Play. Hey, how you doing? Here on Orpheus Plays, we are playing Blade and Sorcery today. We are on the Nomad version. And today I wanted to tell you a little experience about my life. I, at one point in my life, was a Disney cast member. Yes, that's right. And you say, of course you are, Orpheus. Yes, I was. And I want to tell you a little bit about that today, and sort of, hopefully, a shorter one. I've got a little bit of time here today, so why not? Let's record one. Anyway, hope you're doing well wherever you are today, whether it is day, whether it is night. Doesn't matter to me as long as you're coming by to hang out with your old pal Orpheus. We are in survival mode. That means 3 weapons come out. I choose one in increasingly difficult way, and we go from there. This is a bearing sword. Notice it's the way that it's spelled. I'm thinking it's actually for going to hunt bear. And here we go. Let's take care of our first traditional slow motion kill of the day. Right now, we'll sweep her legs. That was a cheap shot, but it did what I needed it to do. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about today's topic as I disassemble. Let's talk about today's topic. I used to be a cast member at Disney. Now, when I say Disney, notice I'm very non-specific, and I say Disney themselves. Well, that's because, well, we'll get to that in a second. Now, back in the 90s, back in the 1990s, a whole long time ago, your old pal Orpheus was kind of a man about town. I was kind of trying to make my way as a little vagabond, kind of almost a drifter. I spent a long time just kind of floating from one place to another. What is going on? I can't get a good swipe with this thing. Let's just sweep her legs again. That seems to work. So I was, just taking odd jobs here and there, and it was, the lifestyle would go kind of like this. I would find a job somewhere. It would be a decent job. After a couple weeks, I'd go and I'd move into an apartment somewhere close. And then from the job itself and working in the mall or wherever it was, I would make friends and find a girlfriend usually. Ooh, nice and clean right there. Make friends, get a girlfriend, something like that, and then just kind of build my life around that. And then when whatever happened, whenever, if something went wrong with my autism or or I decided to be a complete jerk and alienate a bunch of them or get fired from the job or whatever, I'd hang around till I couldn't pay the rent anymore, and then I'd, go find another place to be. And it went like that for, oh boy, about 5 or 6 years of my life. And, the good thing is I don't remember most of it. I know I've made some dumb decisions, but I've got brain damage and, PTSD and a whole bunch of other things, memory issues, and it can be a little difficult to remember things, which can be good because I don't remember a lot of the dumb decisions I made, but it also can be bad because I don't remember a lot of the dumb decisions that I made. So, a lot of life is making... Hey, what's going on? A lot of life is making bad decisions and learning from them. Well, I've had to make the bad decisions about 4 or 5 times. Oops, I totally missed. But that's okay. I have a spell for that. I suck. Anyway, so that's how it would go. I don't, I make the bad decisions more than once in my life because I just don't remember them sometimes. And so this one time, I was in Michigan. This is one of the states that I lived in a lot. And so I get there to this mall, and I'm hanging out, and I notice that there's a Disney store. Now, in case you don't remember, or in case they don't exist anymore, I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do. Now, with Disney being as big as they are, they of course have to have stores. But, back in the day, there were these little just kind of a regular old mall store, right? They were... Oh, no. Anyway, regular old mall store, but they were just like Disney because they were packed with all this stuff, and everyone that worked there you're called a cast member instead of an employee, so, because everyone's on stage. That's the idea that Disney comes up with. You're on stage when you are... That was beautiful. So, you're on stage when you're there as an employee. You're not, you're not working for them. You're working with them. You're a seasoned cast member of a large company that loves its patrons. Maybe not so much these days, but I already did an episode about how much does it cost to go to Disney World. Oh my God. Anyway, go watch that one if you want a little bit more insight on how that works. Take that, biatch. Anyway, so I started working at this place. And you might not know about Disney that they are quite specific with their training. Like, horribly specific. Like, the first thing that I had to do was go through and learn about... Boy, let me see if I can remember. You had to know the features of a product, which included its value. Now, its value is different than its cost, you see, because the value of something is a sliding scale according to the person who's buying it, right? So if it's someone who has good memories about about Dracula, blah, blah. No, if they have good memories about Beauty and the Beast, right? Well, then that person's going to come in and they're going to be all hot and heavy about buying Beauty and the Beast, and so that item has more value to them than it does for someone that doesn't like Beauty and the Beast. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So knowing the item's value is important, along with knowing its cost and knowing its details, right? About like where it's made or whether it's made out of Swarovski crystals or anything like that. Okay. So there was all that you had to learn, but the weirdest part for me, working there immediately, you had to start checking out all of the you had to start checking out all of the Disney movies from the library that they had at the store, and you had to take this right in the jingles. But you had to take and check out, I think it was 2 to 3 every night, and you had to go home and watch them. Okay, well, you're thinking, well, that's not bad, right? Because we did get paid a little extra to do that. We got more time at paid. We'd keep a log of which ones that we'd watch, right? And we'd get paid for, the 3 hours or whatever we went home and watched them. So that's cool, right? You're thinking, oh, you get to watch like all the cool Disney movies. Yay! Okay, well, in case you didn't know, Disney has a lot of movies that they would rather not have in their library. A lot of them are live action ones, which... all I'm going to say is that they had Don Knotts in a lot of their videos, in a lot of their movies. Look, Pete's Dragon is a classic, nostalgic, wonderful movie for that sort of thing. But in general, when you have to watch it and then basically do a book report on it, it sucks. It's a terrible movie. Along with things like The Cat Ate My Pajamas or whatever, or the Scruffy Dog or stuff like that. And again, you're like, oh, some of those. I love whatever movie you just said, Orpheus. I'm glad you do. I did not like watching 30 live action terrible frigging movies all the way back to Davy Crockett and stuff like that. I get it, man. I get it. It's cool to be able to. Oh no, damn you electrocuted my swords. That's for you. But watching all of those was pretty much a nightmare. And then having to go through and not only watch them, but what's the value of this? Well, it's a movie that's beloved by all, and blah 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 blah. Okay, so I had to learn the value and the cost and the background of every single item in there, and it was military strict. It was they could at any time, the manager could ask you a question about the value or something like that. He'd take you over into a part of the store and go, okay, well, what's this? What is this? What's the value? What's the background? Tell me all about this. If I was wanting to buy this, what would you do? Stuff like that. Okay. Well, what the hell happened there? Well, I was pretty good at that stuff because I've always been a persuasive salesperson, right? And apparently pretty good at throwing knives from a foot away. But, so I've always been kind of a persuasive salesperson. And so I did pretty good. To the point where I was like, I kind of want to take a vacation. And my manager at the store heard this, and he was like, hey, I got an opportunity. I have a friend that needs a favor. And I was like, what? Long story short on this favor, they needed someone to be in one parade as, technically you're not supposed to say which character you've ever played if you've ever worked for Disney. It's a breach of protocol to tell people what character you play if you've ever done that. You put on the suit, right? Put on the suit. But if you've ever played one of those, they tell you very strongly you are not to divulge who you played under threat of who cares, right? Because I'm going to tell you. They needed someone to play Mickey for the day. Actually, they just needed somebody the day that I was going to be there. So the day that I got there, they're like, you're going to play Mickey. And I'm like, oh, sweet, right? It was a very, very hot day in Florida when I went down there. So this is obviously Disney World that we're talking about here. It was a very hot day. It was very crowded and it was very humid. And so you might imagine that putting on a heavy costume like that can get a little uncomfortable, and you'd be right. It was probably... I felt like I was stuffed into... if you've ever seen A Christmas Story, you know that kid who, you know, the brother, and he's all bundled up. He's like, I can't put my arms down. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was wearing a full snowsuit in the middle of the summer. It was absolutely awful. Well... This was one of those parades that happened where it was like going down Main Street, where they'd have a couple a day, right? And then they'd have one later that night. So I was like, you know, I'm going to get paid pretty sweet for this. I think it was like $200 or something that I was going to get paid per parade or something. I forget what it was. It was an obscene amount of money. Like, that was one of the only reasons that I went and did it. Because I was like, the hell with doing this otherwise, man. And if I do this with this one, I can combine them into a sword. That's a really neat add-on there. A little mod. Chop. Ha! One for you. Anyway, so I'm there, and it was neat, you know, being up on that parade float, and you know, you got all that stuff going on, and you're, you know. I wasn't really doing... I was doing it to myself inside there. Well, here's the thing. The night before, I had went to go and party with a whole bunch of the cast members at Disney World, and it was like immediately everyone's like best friends when you do that stuff. And so we got nice and liquored up that night, and I had a very bad hangover. Like, this was one of those champion hangovers that I had. Now, the reason I remember this stupid thing is because it was so memorable. It's not like, you know, oh, I went to this bar somewhere in nowhere, Wisconsin or something, and got really liquored up. No, it's not like that. This was like I was stuffed inside a Mickey Mouse costume while I was like basically feeling like I wanted to die. And then you get on top of that the fact that it was like, it had to be like 90 degrees in Florida that day, and like 90% humidity. It was horrible. I was pouring sweat. I think I lost like 2 pounds from that day just from sweating. I don't remember. I think I actually did weigh myself because the cast members the night before had told me that was something that you should do, and I don't remember if I did or not, but 2 pounds seems to stand out in my head, and that's not what they told me. They told me that you'd probably lose about 5, and I was like, oh, wow. Right. Well, apparently I just lost 2, but it was all in sweat, man. Well, no, not exactly 2. We'll get to that in a second. So we're about halfway through the first parade of the day, and it was nice and hot outside. The sun is high in the sky. It's a gorgeous day. Families are lining Main Street right there, and I'm sitting up on top of that. And like I said, I'm sitting there, and I'm just let's see if I can get back up there. Hey, so I'm just, you know, hey everybody, hi, you know, and doing my little dance moves and stuff, and then I start feeling the rise in my belly of just absolute horror, right? I start feeling, there we go. I start feeling this like bubbling in my guts, and I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be bad, right? Well, don't worry, I did not crap my pants. I did not make dookie. Instead, I started to throw up. And if you've never thrown up inside of a... What's going on here? If you've never thrown up inside of something like a helmet, the bottom half below my chin, right up to about my chin, was filled with... I'm not just already right now, you're like, oh my god, no. Yeah, it was bad. I was kind of floating in it for about 15 minutes till they took me back. The entire neck of the costume was soaked. It was awful. So I went and basically passed out back in my hotel room. I did not finish the rest of the day, and I did not get paid for the other 2 parades. But it was an experience that I don't think I'll ever forget. It was absolutely... besides me throwing up all over myself inside of a Mickey Mouse head... which is, in and of itself, like its own story, right? Hey, kids, But it was just being down at Disney and doing all those things and seeing all those little utilidors underneath the park and everything. So cool. Anyway, have you had an experience with Disney that was interesting? Did you see like one of the cast members like lose their crap? You could tell that they were visibly sick or something. Anyway, leave it in the comments below. Be good, do good, and treat yourself well, because you know what? You deserve it. We'll see you in the next one here on Orpheus Plays. Bye!